Today I'm going to use the newer VMware Converter 5.01 that came out October of 2012, and I'm going to use it in a circumstance where I ran into a bug. I want to get around that bug. I'm on Windows 8, and today I was getting this nasty error. Version 5.0 was croaking on me, just dying when trying to do any conversions. So I went to the download site right here, logged in with my VMware ID, and was able to get the free downloadable converter client. The release notes are over here, and they have some more details about what's new. Very little, really. And it says it's not even certified with 5.1. But it seems to work, so let's move on. The purpose of this video was not just the download and install, which was, frankly, rather straightforward. You just launch the executable, and it upgrades any previous versions you might have. That's the executable file name right there. So let's dive in and have a look at a use case for the converter. I've got a virtual machine here, and if we look at Datastore browser, here's the files in that virtual machine. There was a large 300 gig file, there was a smaller 50 gig file, and it turns out I had snapshots on. So I turned off snapshots or deleted all existing snapshots, ended up with one simple set of files. But I noticed in the virtual machine, the disk was 95% full. That's a problem. Let me show you. I think I still have the warning up on my screen somewhere. But basically, its NTFS file system, its C drive for its Windows 7 instance, was pretty much full. And that's kind of annoying. Let me go ahead and boot the virtual machine to have a look around. You'll see it's using up, it's got about 300 gig provisioned. If we look at the Datastore browser, we can see, yeah, about 300, and that's what's provisioned. All right. What else can we see? Well, let's look at the properties. So if we go to Edit Settings for this VM, which is powering up now, its hard disk, it says thin provision. So it's only using up as much space as it needs. But that's not really so much the problem here. The problem is the C drive needs resizing. And VMware Converter is a good way to do that without having to muck around with partition magic or anything within Windows. Let's just use Converter so that Windows goes from a 300 gig hard drive to, say, 750. Since it's thin provision, that's not going to have any impact on the amount of on VMFS file system data store usage. Okay, so it's just going to be kind of a win-win. We can go all the way up to 2 terabytes at this point in time. Hopefully with ESXi 6.0 we'll be past the 2 terabyte boundary. Okay, this particular VM, it's actually a copy of a laptop. It was a laptop died. I took out the hard drive from the laptop, did something called the RDM mapping, or raw device mapping, basically taking that that SATA drive and allowing it to boot as a virtual machine instead of a physical machine. And that worked out pretty well. But like any machine that has some baggage, because it came from a physical machine, it's a little slower to boot than, you know, a clean, fresh install of Windows 7, of course. So that boot is coming up. It's got some personal stuff in there. All I really want to do is show you the desktop and then the size of the C drive and how much space is available before and after this conversion. Okay, so when that thing's done booting, I'll go ahead and resume this video. Okay, I got booted, got the personal stuff obscured, and basically I'm just showing the virtual machine here now with 29 gig out of 268 gig. So I want to give myself some more elbow room. I don't like falling below 10% free. And I'm going to go ahead and take care of that now. So I'm going to go ahead and shut down that VM. And we get, since VMware Tools is running there, we can go ahead and just right-click and shut down the guest gracefully. Okay, now I can go ahead and launch the VMware Converter that I've already installed on this local laptop. So I'm recording this video with a Windows 8 laptop. The ESXi data center is remote on my same network. So first thing, just to log in, we can log in on workgroup mode with a workstation name / username, or just simply my username and my password for this local host, my local machine, and we're up and running with version 5.01. Next, convert machine. Now, it's best to use the actual ESXi host. If we look at a best practices video such as this one, they take it even further, and I believe they go by IP, avoiding vCenter when possible. So if you want to maximize your chance of success, keep it simple. Log right into the IP address of your ESXi host, and make sure you tell it you have a VMware infrastructure virtual machine that you're trying to use. Hit next. I'm going to ignore any kind of SSL stuff, and I'm in. So let's select the virtual machine I want to convert. It's this one. Now, just to show you, there it is. It's called that exact name, and it's shut down, as you can see. So that's simple enough. If we click View Source Details, it's smart enough to know what's on that source powered off virtual machine. You might remember Datastore browser that I showed you. So refresh over there. That's the virtual machine. That's all its files. So it's looking inside that virtual machine, which it has to do to convert it anyway, even though it's powered off. And it's going to say a bunch of stuff about its layout. There it is, how many network adapters. And look at that. I didn't even have to boot the C drive to convince you that it really has 268 used out of 300 total, roughly. It tells you that right up front. Okay, we go ahead and walk through the wizard. Just click Next. And where's the destination? Same place. Notice there are options, though, just to show you. We can put it on this local laptop running on a VMware workstation, for instance, if we wanted to. Okay, next. Okay. Well, for the purposes of demo, big C. It's going to end up with a bigger C drive, right? So it's asking the destination. It's telling me the source appeared. The destination is also the same. The name, I can make up anything. It needs to be unique. It can't be the same as the original one. And here's the interesting part. Datastore, where do we want it? Well, I want to put it in the same fast RAID array. Virtual machine version. You can leave all that alone. We can upgrade that later if we feel like it. Just to maximize our chances of conversion finishing, it's best to change as little as possible. All right, here's the interesting screen now. It's time to dive in a little and look at the disk, data to copy. So click Edit on the disk. Thick, no, I want to go thin. And size, watch this, select volumes to copy. Okay, there we go. Now we get an advanced menu. So we got it in the right data store. We have no choice on some of these other menus. Let's give ourselves a little more elbow room to read this. Double click, double click. I want you to see all those column headers. All right. We don't want to maintain size. This is going to take much longer. I realize that. But let's go with 750 gig. All right. On the RAID array, I'm going to end up with a nice fat 750 gig, room to grow. Great. Select volumes to copy, it's telling me. Well, you have no choice. That's the menu option we clicked in the beginning. What does advanced tell me? Source volumes, destination layout. Then let's go back to basic. So notice basic wouldn't let us do a thin provision and resize. So advanced was my friend here. I want to go to a thin disk that's 750 gig in size. It even lets me change cluster size if I wanted to. Not remembering off the top of my head what the source was, but I believe it was 4 KB. So I'm just going to leave that alone. Create optimized partition layout? Sure. And ignore page font hibernation? Sure. Speed things up a little. All right, so now it's ready. This is my chance to proofread the screen. I'm doing a thin provision clone, and I'll end up with a nice 750 gig hard drive. So because it has to do some real work here, this is going to take a bit longer than if you just did a straight clone with minimal changes, particularly when you're doing file system changes in a fairly large data set. So it's now 1%. And there we go. We're already getting a time estimate very quickly. How accurate that is, wow, hard to say. Let's look at the ESXi view here and how busy things are while we're in the middle of doing this conversion we just kicked off. Not sure what's going on with my real-time view. There we go, it's back. Okay. So at the moment, it's doing a little something with the network. The disk activity hasn't even shown yet, really. That's okay. So I'm ready to just let it roll. Still at 1%. And it's basically cloning itself from one spot in the disk to another. And how much disk space do we have? Well, if we go to the Configuration tab, Storage, RAID, you'll see we only have 985 available. That's going to drop by about 300 gig. So there you have it, how to kick off and clone a VMware Converter job. That's particularly useful. That's going to resize the C drive of space that's available to a particular virtual machine. I'm going to pause the video and resume when we get to the end of this conversion. It's a few minutes later, and I just want to show you the performance counters here. So more interesting things are starting to happen. We've got a little bit of impact on CPU. More interesting is the disk and the network. So both are busy. So let's have a look at my laptop, which is on a gigabit connection. If we look at the gigabit interface, there you go. It's busy. It's doing stuff. So yeah, my laptop, which is local on the same gigabit LAN as the ESXi host, is involved in this conversion. A little weird, right? Because it's just a service, and it's handling this VMware Converter Windows binary, and its service is running. Let me show you the services. So I'm going to hit Windows X. Bring up computer management and show you the list of services here. So if we go to VMware in the alphabet, we'll see when we install VMware Converter, here's what it has installed. Agent, server, and worker. Okay, those three pieces. And they are all running. Okay, so like I said, it's a few minutes later. Let's have a look at what it's done so far. Here's the converter window. We're now at 3%. And we know the name of the target VM. So if we go to Datastore browser and hit refresh, nothing's changed there in the source, right? But what about the new target? So if we sort alphabetically, it should be easy to spot. So much for easy to spot. Sorry, jumping, the other window popped up. Back to Datastore browser. What we can see really is that there is no VM with the name Big C created yet. That's what seems to be the case here. Boy, that's annoying, that window coming up. Okay, so when you have performance monitoring going, you hear little clicks in the background and it keeps popping up on you. So anyhow, back to this Datastore browser. While the cloning is still underway, we just kind of wait. It has not actually seemingly done much yet. So tburn, okay, so that's the Datastore browser, which has a habit of hiding you from doing stuff that could get you in trouble. So how about if we try WinSCP? So start run, I typed in WinSCP. Let's log into the ESXi host and do a little deeper dive under the covers. So the VMFS file system has a volume named LSI RAID, and we go in there and sort by date, and we can see there's the big C drive folder. So again, WinSCP is revealing something that Datastore browser is not. I'll hit refresh. I'm alphabetically sorted, and there it is. Okay. I was wrong. File's right there in front of me. When was that created? 53, which is now. Interesting. So at some point that was created. I'm not sure when, or if it was just a matter of refreshing, which is why I missed it. So the file's just going to keep growing, and it's pumping data into there. Right? A new VMX file is just hanging out. VM is configured, so let's see if it's shown up in inventory over here yet. Sure, it has. Can we look at its performance? Just that VM? Okay, so no, can't yet. Notice VM version 7, everything's going to be the same as the source. We didn't touch those pieces. Actually, no, that one's VMX 9. Sorry about that. So that's interesting. Will it handle a new VM version that's newer than itself? Well, we already know ESXi 5.1 is not really supported by this now aging tool. So the only way I'll know is if I successfully manage to get this conversion job to finish, and if this thing actually boots when it's done. Now it's unfortunately saying 3 hours, 15 minutes before it's done. Okay. I'll resume video much later when this thing's done. So the conversion finished a while ago. Let's have a look here. And we have a log showing what it did and how long. Actually right there, 3 hours, 18 minutes, excuse me. And then the average rate. So you can even export the logs. We can also look at the summary tab and take a look at that. All right, we're done looking at converter. Now let's see the result. And there it is. Let's go ahead and boot it up. Actually, I just noticed something here. The old one was on version 9. The new one's all the way back on version 7. That could be a problem. Let me just take care of that up front. I can't see that going too well with underlying hardware looking different. So 2 virtual CPUs, that's what the previous one had, same amount of memory. It leaves all the other settings alone. We should just end up with a much bigger C drive now. So there it goes. If we have a look here and hit refresh on Datastore browser, you can see this is how it looks after you start it. We actually trimmed some space. You might remember the original looked like this. The clone that's then provisioned looks like this. Notice its provision size is 750 gig. All right, so when it boots up, we should expect a lot of elbow room, and the little pie chart showing how full the C drive is will likely mostly be empty. That was the whole goal here. We just showed a particular VMware Converter task, which is the use of VMware Converter 5.01 as a way to resize your C drive on a Windows guest operating system, a Windows virtual machine. Okay, I've moved the video window back, and it found some stuff, the virtual hardware. It probably has a new MAC address too for the underlying Ethernet, right? That's normal. And you'll also see we're only using a small sliver now of the giant 750 gig drive. So that's awesome. Okay, yep, it found a new gigabit network adapter, a Pro 1000 MT, okay. And a VMware pointing device. Interesting. But I'm on the network, so I'm all set. Okay, that's the end of that video. Thank you for watching.